The following program was made possible thanks to the generous support of our Kickstarter backers.
Well, first Hans was born, and he got fat all and tired.
Sup, Holmes?
Beware your host, Jonathan Holmes.
Sinistar, thanks so much for the warm welcome. And speaking of warm, we've got Jay Tholen. Is that how I pronounce it, Jay?
Yeah,
Jay
that's
Tholen.
right.
The latest and perhaps greatest game to feature a hug feature in the game. You can hug. Dropsy, the clown. How long have you been working on this Dropsy for?
4 years.
What?
Yeah,
Wow.
the character existed since 2008, but 4 years the game has been being made.
How did the character exist before the game started production? What was his purpose then?
Well, in 2004, he was like a zombie boss in a game I was making, platformer. And then in 2008, he became a good guy, and he was a character for a forum game on Something Awful, where, you know, people posted go left, and then I drew the next panel, and they were like face paint your dog, and then I drew the next panel where he face painted his dog, and they wanted him to do obscene things, but I was pretty set on him being pretty much an innocent. So yeah, it started in 2008, kind of.
As a collaborative project on the Something Awful forums?
Yeah, sorta. Like I made everything, but they just told me go eat the banana in the scene, and then I do the next panel. You know, the forum games like that. You know.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if a lot of people knew that. The part of where Dropsy's personality formed in a push and pull between you and the forum goers was there on Something Awful. Not what I would have expected, actually. That's kind of exciting.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. It got really popular back then on the forum and stuff, and I was like, oh my god, maybe I can do something with this and not be a telemarketer.
You were working as a telemarketer at the time?
Yeah, like for, I don't know, 10 years since high school almost, I was doing little jobs like that. I gave up on doing anything I wanted, you know? So it was pretty cool.
I was describing you. I was eating an egg sandwich from a Middle Eastern restaurant all of half hour ago. And I was with a friend who's moving to San Francisco, and she's like, what are you going to do with the rest of your day? I'm like, I'm talking to this guy who made this game. And I showed her the trailer, and she was like, it's so sophisticated and crude at the same time. I'm like, exactly. And he would have never guessed that he would end up getting to do this for money. He's the kind of guy, because we've met once before, and my impression of you is you're the kind of guy who, if you were a musician, you would be playing like open mic and punk clubs, never thinking you would become the next Ramones. And you're not quite Ramones level yet, but you're getting talked about by Devolver and successful Kickstarters. And you were going the opposite direction from like conventional success. And now through going in that direction, you've looped back and are now on your way. You're almost there.
Man, that would be so nice if I can do this for a living. It's so cool.
Pretty sure. I'm quite. To me, you're already established.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I hope this game I hope everyone loves it. I love it. It's so good.
You do love it. Yeah, that's one of the things that is so nice to see. So often when a developer makes a game, they get so close to it that they get very critical. The inspiration aspect of the creation process is long over, and they're hard into the editing phase. But as I've seen you with this game, you're able to feel like a new warmth towards it and like hug it. Like it's new.
I love it. Yeah. Like I get a little frustrated like at PAX and stuff, like, or at these shows, because I'll watch people play and I'll know that they can't use the phone yet because it's just not in. And I'll watch them try to click it, and I'm like, oh no. And I'm like, not in yet. Like, so I'm really annoying at those shows. But in spite of that, I've never stopped. I've never fell out of the honeymoon phase. Like, I still really like working on it. And we saved all the fun optional junk until the end. So now it's just like a race to get all of the, because our tagline is you hug everyone you meet. So we're making puzzles for every single character to be huggable, because you have earn everyone's hugs in the game, you know. So that's what we're like racing to do at the end, to try to get all that in. But it's super fun at the end now.
Huh. What was the least fun part of the process, other than the watching people play it at PAX and feel frustrated with what they couldn't do yet?
Least fun part was about a year ago, when the game kind of didn't even exist. Maybe about a year ago it started to exist, but we had my friend who was helping me, just, you know, he was having some hard personal issues with his life, and he just wasn't able to commit a lot of time to it, and so it just really kind of wasn't a thing. Like, we had a little bit of a janky engine going, but so we had to get a new team on, and at that time I was worried constantly that I was going to get an email from Devolver like, yeah, sorry man, you know, we can't do this anymore. But they stuck with it. I think they saw the potential it had, and so I was able to reconnect with these guys. I actually knew these guys when I was like 13 or 14, and I used to make games in the Click and Play, you know, Games Factory back in the 90s, you know, that community. And so I reconnected with them, and they're kind of the Dropsy team now. So
oh wow, how many people are on the Dropsy team?
2 dudes, Jesse, they have a company called A Jolly Corpse. But Jesse is doing art, and he's also doing a lot of design. He's helped revamp a lot of puzzles. And then there's a programmer named David. So
awesome. And you?
And me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we got old Chris Schlarb doing the music, which is really good. So yeah.
But you've done some music yourself, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So the game has 2. In the one you played, it doesn't. But that's what I'm adding right now. It has a dream world when you go to bed, and it has and that's to fill in details on what Dropsy loves and what he's scared of and stuff, and his memories, because there's no text. So I kind of wanted to give some exposition on that. So for the dream world, I'm taking Chris Schlarb's compositions and a few of my own original things, and like mixing them all up and making them weird sounding and dreamy and stuff. So we have kind of a dual soundtrack. Mine's the dream world, and his, which he got a live band to record his. So it's really has contrast with mine, which is more electronic. So we have 2 soundtracks going on.
Huh? And that makes a lot of sense. A real band for real life interaction.
Yeah, the real world. Yeah.
And a synthy kind of filtered version of that for the way your dreams filter.
Yep.
What you've
And
experienced.
I'm going to try to connect. And it's not going to work totally just because of how many tracks I have to work with. But I'm going to try to connect thematically to like the areas with the songs. And when you're in a dream, if the dream has to do with this puzzle or this area in the main game, then I'm going to try to thematically make the music come back a little bit. We'll see. That's what I'm adding at the end myself there. So, yeah.
And you're adding more hug options, or more hug
so
potential, more
Jesse and David are adding the final hugs, and I'm adding the dream world. That's kind of my like project, is the dream world, because it's non-interactive, so I can add all that myself at my own leisure. So
Sure. For people who don't know, is Dropsy strictly about hugging, or is that a means to an end? What is Dropsy about?
Okay, are you trying to ask me to get philosophical or game mechanics?
I think for those, because I think I know anyway, but I never know when I'm remembering stuff wrong.
Yeah.
So it never hurts to go straight to the source. Dropsy, if you had to explain the concept, and actually, as I was talking to a friend of mine eating an egg sandwich, she was like, but what's the point? And I actually forgot, because I was like, I don't actually care what the point is. I just want to be in Dropsy's world and be Dropsy and see what it's like to both watch him and be him. That's the point for me.
Okay, I'll give the little
the thing.
summary thing. Yeah, the thing. So it's a point and click adventure where you play as a clown or an ex-clown. Maybe he's still a clown deep inside, but where 5 years or so before the game starts, there's like this horrific fire, and you already look kind of creepy. But a bunch of people died in this fire in the town, and so now when you go exploring the town, or the world that you live in, people are scared of you. You're kind of an urban legend. They run away from you. So, and you just kind of have this sort of sad existence where you live in a stitched together, rebuilt little tent with your dad, who has now taken up a job at a junkyard. And you're just, as you play the game, you kind of learn more about the fire. There's not a whole lot at the beginning that drives the gameplay. At the beginning, you're given a little coloring. It's your mom's birthday at the beginning, so you have to go deliver that to your mom at her gravesite. And yeah, it's pretty sad.
but in a sweet way. There's a pervasive mixture of sweetness and sadness or horror or disgust, but it always covered in a layer of sugar, which is something that keeps the contrast and flavor, so to speak, going throughout.
Yeah, I think a big thing I wanted to try to do is, I don't know, the stoner humor where it's like cute cartoons, but then they're all pervy and like they kill people and stuff. I wanted to like make it where like all the comments I get are like, this is the creepiest, weird, crazy thing ever. This creepy clown goes and hugs screaming children. And I think that's perfect for what what we're trying to do, because I wanted to subvert that and make it like, yeah, he looks creepy and he hugs kids, but he just wants to hug people. He's just a good guy. And he's just, it's so on the surface, it's a little weird, but it has this, and the world is full of pain and like sadness, but it has this undercurrent of just positivity or joy. And that's what at the end is victorious. It's like, it bubbles up and covers the world with like joy. And the only things you can do are these good, nice things, because Dropsy, it's just not in him to do harm to anybody. So all he wants to do is hug people, but the world doesn't think that. So there is darkness, but it's just as a result of how you look and how the world thinks they have the preconceptions about you being that scary clown,
Yeah, absolutely. Stoner. I've never thought of it that way, because I've never smoked reefer in my whole darn life, and I'm almost 40, but I've always been drawn to comedy that subverts, or even not comedy, just surreal cartoons. And
well,
whatnot.
they have that name for the genre, stoner humor, and a lot of people have been drawing comparisons like Aqua Teen Hunger Force or like stuff like that, where if you just looked at a screenshot, it might look innocuous, but it's really not. But a lot of people are like asking, oh, is this like an Adult Swim show, and I would say, I guess Adventure Time would be the closest Adult Swim thing, because that can look weird too, but it has this sweetness. And it's a little gentle at times, so. Yeah, but not really. It's not really like anything, I guess. I don't know.
It's certainly, to me, it reminds me most of old Spike and Mike Festival animations, where the artist would make the character seem hard to relate with through a lot of bizarre details, and there's a visual shock to the fact that you're even seeing this at first, but as you watch it, you relate more and more with the character and end up really caring about him and like loving him. And the joke, if there's a joke in there, is like, that person you thought was gross is actually awesome and you love him.
I really hope that comes through, because I think that was the thing I wanted to do. When I started the Dropsy thing, I knew he was a creepy clown, creepy looking, and like back in 2008, and I played on that a lot, and it really didn't have much depth to it. He was just a weird, creepy clown, and I set it up on purpose so they would ask me to hug people, which I then did, and it was funny. But then over the years, he turned almost into a real person or something. Like, when I talk about Dropsy, I'm not like, yeah, so I wrote him this way. It's more like, yeah, he's like this and he's like that. It's like he's there, so I kind of care about him. And also I can just no longer, I've lost the ability to see him as weird anymore. He's just, I just know too much about how he's written to think that he's a weirdo. He's just Dropsy, he's just like, It's like if you move in next to a weird neighbor, and then like 10 years later, oh yeah, that's Bill. He's got those things, but man, he's a good guy. You know, like I think of him like that now a little bit. You know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you get close with somebody, I've had friends actually sadly had a friendship breakup recently. It's been sad, but it is what it is. And I've been thinking back on the friendship and realizing, oh, wait a minute. He hired a prostitute and had sex with them in my house without me knowing. But I glazed over that at the time because he's my buddy. That's kind of weird, but whatever, you know.
Right.
Prostitute sex. I've never done it, but I'm not going to judge. And now that the friendship has become what it is, I'm like, maybe he wasn't such a great guy the whole time. But anyway.
It shifted a little bit. Wow.
Sure, but with Dropsy, because you, unlike a friend that you know who's actually not you, Dropsy came from you. Like Dropsy is your baby.
Yeah.
You know him inside and out.
Yeah. And I don't think it's a spoiler to say he's just super 100% innocent in the whole game. Like maybe to some people it'll be who buy it because they want to see a creepy clown. But there's lots of other stuff that happens in the game. So I just wanted to make a good but weird looking dude. And I like you're only allowed to do nice things. You can't be mean to anybody.
yeah, it's not in his nature to.
No.
Which is a very interesting way to go about writing a character. I haven't played the whole game, but I haven't seen him speak that I recall. He's someone who leaves so much to the player interpretation to fill in the blanks as to what's going on with him. You know him from the inside out, so you know exactly what's there. But other people, if they choose to, they may think, oh, I'm being a creepy jerk on purpose right now. Doing something that's actually sweet and kind. If somebody decides that's what they think Dropsy's thinking, there's nothing to
if they want to do that, I mean, they can do that. But I guess like in the game, the only impact that you can have on the world is a good one. So if they want to think that they're creeping people out, by all means. I mean, and when you encounter people, they do run away from you, or they're like, get away, you know. Right. So it happens, but and if you want to just not help them, they could be perpetually afraid of you. But then the game might be a little boring because you're not doing
just
much.
Be scaring people. Well, then you'd be surprised.
Well, hey, whatever. Yeah, okay.
Did you play any of Tulip? Have you heard of Tulip? I will. Geez, I have a lot of games I'm supposed to send people. I've got to take a week off.
File to take that burden off of you, and I'll say Tulip is what it's called.
Tulip, like Tulip, except CH, made by Kimura. I can't remember his first name.
All right, I'll find it. Yeah.
Very interesting game developer. He, I believe, worked on No More Heroes a lot more than people think. No More Heroes, people think is the Suda51 game. Of course, Suda had a huge part in that and created the characters, but it was actually this Kimura fella who worked on that, and Tulip, a PS2 game where you're a young boy and you just want to kiss everyone. Man. And it's not sexual. At least I didn't take it as sexual, but again, open to interpretation. But you have to like win people over enough that they'll accept the kiss. And you kiss frogs. I think you kiss.
Oh my gosh! I accidentally copied someone.
Well, I think it's more of a great minds think alike thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that. That sounds fun.
Is it
Japanese?
Say again.
Is it Japanese? Because
it's awfully Japanese.
Okay,
it's very different from Dropsy in terms of visuals and mechanics. It's not point and click. It is a non-violent adventure, but it's a lot more punishing. Like if you kiss someone before they're ready to be kissed, you die and have to start over. They like hit you so hard you die.
Originally, you were going to go to prison for hugging certain people, but we scrapped that. Just it would be annoying gameplay wise.
Yeah, and then you'd have to get out of prison and whatnot. So yes, it is a different idea to make a game that the main mechanic is puzzle solving and love, as opposed to puzzle solving and violence, or puzzle solving and just unlocking dialogue, like
or being like a klepto guy and like stealing everything. Dropsy will take some things, but it's mostly stuff that looks like you could probably take and get away with.
Yeah.
But he would just be taking something because it's shiny. He's, or something like that.
Sure. So, was it part of the? I want to make sure that we got this point right because it was a very interesting point. But to clarify, you've seen stuff like Happy Tree Friends, where on the surface it's like cute and cuddly and marketable, but then deep down, like we're all secretly bad people who like to do crimes and hurt.
Yeah,
each
right.
other. And Dropsy is observing that, like on the surface, someone looks like they may be a criminal, but deep down they've got a heart of gold. And if you give them a chance, was that something you thought was going to be marketable? Like, you didn't know about Chulip?
I didn't think any of it was like I had so many comments like, is that the main character? Like that, I just didn't think that even if I wanted to hit the people who like creepy stuff, I got so many people back when our failed Kickstarter was going on that were like, I would play it, but I think people had a hard time relating, but I didn't have a lot of the game done either. So now when you see him in motion doing what he does, it's a little bit more accessible or something. But yeah, I think I always wanted to do something like that, like kind of subvert that or that thing a little bit.
To make the idea that we're being rebellious by just being sweethearts sometimes.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
That's not necessarily what people are told they're supposed to be in order to be a success. Just like be wholly nice to people and not be selfish and take social chances and make yourself vulnerable by showing that you care about people, even though they may think you're disgusting, to put yourself out there anyway.
And I think one of the things is not only like I think the game is a lot about inherent value in each person. Like everyone has something special and interesting like about them. And like even like I have some friends who are just like in high school, they were super football team, jock dudes. Like if I would have met them then, even though I had considered myself of a lower social circle than them back then, because they were the popular kids, I still looked at them with this pride of like, yeah, well, I'm into my nerdy, I know cool stuff about programming games and they're stupid. So y'all suck. And that's what, that's how I got through that, because I got bullied and stuff. And so, but now when I look back, like those kids, I have so many friends who were like that, who they have so many complex, cool little things about them that it was just wrong of me to like assume they were just boring jocks. Like they have cool little stuff. So in Dropsy, even though you're hated by it, like, or feared by a lot of people in the world, and some of them have good reasons, like their relatives died in your circus fire. So, but I like the idea of you can help everyone and kind of see the good things about them too. Like you can, a character who might look like a freaking crazy cop and he has like his gun like on his holster about to blow the crap out of you just for hugging him. Like he has some personality and some good things you can kind of find in there that show that he's just a human who has some good stuff in there, and I like that Dropsy kind of wants to see that in everyone and he wants to give them hugs,
So as they're discovering that Dropsy isn't the one-dimensional scary clown that they think he is just by his physical appearance, he's also, and in doing so, the player is finding out that these characters who look, it's the style of game is the visual style, cartoon, exaggerated features, not quite, as simple as Charlie Brown or something, more detailed, more fleshed out, but still they seem to be icons that symbolize certain types. Yeah. And as you get to know them through the story, you see that there's more to them than just that. It reminds me so much of, and this is not the first time I brought this up on the show, how when you're on the internet, you see someone's avatar on Twitter or whatnot, and you see like a little bit about them and you think, oh, you're just one of this X, Y, or Z internet class we've come up with. And if you actually get to know them, you find out they're a fully fleshed out human being you can empathize with, and not just an abstract idea to be rocking to.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot to be said for sticking people into tribes and then being immediately against them but it's not them. You're maybe against the thing you think they're a part of, but them as a person, they've got their own dreams. They weren't born your enemy, So yeah, that's probably a part. I think Mr. Rogers is probably a big inspiration for this, because like I think a couple years ago I had this phase where like I'm a Christian, but I was going through this questioning time where I think everyone should do if they're religious, where they sort of test how much these ideas are real, and and I was just thinking, just going through this existential, like, what do I believe thing, and I was started to watch these Mr. Rogers videos, and there's a video clip of him singing a song to Joan Rivers on her talk show when she was on one of those late night talk shows, and it's a song called "It's You I Like," and he was just and she was trying to get him to stop his act of acting all like innocent, like he was talking to a kid, but it wasn't an act. He like was just he was fascinated with everybody. He could see that everyone had some cool stuff in there, and she started crying. Even like she was being a little crude earlier, and then she started crying and like stuff, and I'm like, that is so powerful, like what he did. And he was just being very childlike and just like telling her like through a song that he liked her. It's not the clothes you wear or the way you do your hair or it's these simple things. It was a song written for kids to understand the concept. But man, and I was thinking if I could put that into a game somehow. And so in Dropsy, there are evil forces, and the way you defeat them is only through like love, and I think love as like a force that actually changes things. Because like you could go kill your enemies all day long and then they'll just be dead. But what if you can make your enemies your friends? Or what if you can like, then you'll have more people that you're friends with and no one will be dead. Everybody wins. So that's kind of the core of why I wanted to do that. And maybe it's a lot of thought for like a clown, like a goofy clown adventure game, but like I really am into, just putting a lot of thought into that part of it,
Well, good grief. You've been working on the game for 4 years, and you've made some smaller games in between. You made Atomic Santa, if I remember.
Yeah.
Which is a delight. Everyone should check that out immediately. But for a game to take up this much of your life, for you to take this kind of financial, emotional, personal risk on it, I'd imagine there has to be a level of depth to what you're trying to do with it, other than give people some laughs and a few.
Maybe that's
hours.
it. Yeah, like it adds, like maybe that's why I've been thinking about all this so much in the past few years, because maybe if I spent 4 years on this thing and it was just a goofy fart joke of a game and it didn't do anything to help anybody, maybe I would just feel like, what did I do at that time? Like,
Yeah.
Maybe that's the thing. But I've definitely been doing that more lately.
Well, that's a wonderful thing to do. And Mr. Rogers as an inspiration, I know the song fairly well that you were talking about, though. I've never seen him sing it to Joan Rivers. What better thing to do with your life than to try to get through to the Joan Rivers of our world and have them have a genuine emotional experience? Nothing against Joan Rivers. Very talented comedian. But as I know her, she wanted to be close to people without ever actually making herself vulnerable. So she stayed, on a type of humor that was about criticism and was about picking other people apart for the most part, and herself. It was charged. Yeah,
imagine if you see other people that way, then you go through life applying that to you too. It can't be easy,
Oh, sure. Yeah. She had to fight her way to the top in a world that was incredibly harsh, especially towards a woman trying to do like comedy. Right. So, but she was a human being, and Mr. Rogers brought that out in her.
Yeah.
By telling her he loved her unconditionally is basically what that song's about.
Yeah.
And you might do that for... Isn't that exciting? There may be jerks out there, and of course they're not wholly jerks.
Right.
But they put their jerk face forward because that's what they're most comfortable with. And they may buy Dropsy thinking, this is for jerks, and I'm going to be like a creepy jerk. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, they might be crying and being like, I love people. Good, and I'm good too. I'm not as bad as I thought. I was.
Or they'll be
Why
like,
did that? Wouldn't that
or they'll be
great?
like, I hope like even if they just play it and think it's funny, I hope it sticks a little, you know, like
Yeah.
maybe they'll play it and be like, what is this crap? But that's okay too.
Well, speaking of which,
I
It
got their
has
$10.
but it's already resonated with people in a way that many games don't. So many video games out there, as you know, you've been to PAX and games that never even get big enough to get to PAX.
Yeah.
So many games out there vying for the attention of the public, and Dropsy is getting written about, getting retweeted about.
Yeah.
Of course, Devolver loves it. It's
Yeah.
what do you think it is about Dropsy that before people have even played it has ended up resonating with them?
Maybe like on the surface, I guess the art and the I guess it's unique looking. You know, it's pixel art, but it's hyper detailed.
There's very pretty games, and you just may not have an answer for it. If so,
I don't know, but it could be that. It could be just the premise is weird, and I hope maybe a little of that niceness can seep through a little. Because in the comments, because I obsessively read them, and I shouldn't. Like, not a lot of mean ones, but a lot of people just saying a lot of this is creepy. Oh, I thought it was adorable. I thought that clown was cute. And like to make that clown get that reaction, like that might be part like this weird dissonance in the brain, maybe like, okay, they want me to think this clown is adorable, but he looks this way. So maybe that's making it easy to talk about or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that people want to be interesting.
Yeah.
And Dropsy is inherently interesting. And bucking of convention. I don't know if I've talked about it before on Sup Homes, maybe. In Japan, for a while there was a big trend called cubic mouth. And I'm seeing it get a little bit more popular in the United States. It was almost like they got so tired of conventionally cute and marketable things that they turned it around and made these characters who were like inherently kind of disturbing because their mouths were cubes. Like
I've
mouth
seen
almost.
this.
You've seen
Okay.
cubic mouth. Yeah. I don't know if cubic mouth is still as hot as it was 5 years ago, but I
Right.
was in Japan 5 years ago and it was like cubic mouth Mickey Mouse. And he's like,
Yeah,
like
yeah, right.
mouth coming at you. And,
Yeah, I know
cubic
you-
mouth Disney princesses and whatnot. And maybe America's finally ready for its cubic mouth. Could be Dropsy. That mouth of his is a very defining
a
feature.
great
You
mouth.
wouldn't be him without that mouth. No.
Right.
But-
Like, no, go ahead. Sorry.
But Dropsy wasn't as marketable when you did the first Kickstarter, which didn't take off. Is that right? When was that again?
Right. Okay. So there was a first Kickstarter in 2011,
Ah,
and it was for $225. And I was just saving it up to buy like a little program because I was like, okay, I can pump this out. And and that program is not good for adventure games. So I learned that over the next few years and I had art stockpiling, just no game happening. So then in 2013, the one that you're talking about, I didn't quit, but I got fired, if that makes any sense. Like I started poorly performing because I was working on my Kickstarter, and then they could tell, and I was tired all the time because I was staying up all night. And I was doing a support job for a web, like easy to use website builder. So it was a lot of old people that would be, how do I do the Yahoos and all this stuff? It was a mess. But I got fired on that job because I knew I'd get fired. But to do that first Kickstarter, and I was like, I'm gonna do it. So I put little prototypes together in that program I bought, which is Multimedia Fusion, or Fusion as it's called now. And I opened the first 90 seconds of that video with like constant jokes, and like I didn't show the game until after, which was a huge mistake. Like you got to show your dang game at the beginning of a Kickstarter video. So I think that's why it failed. But what even was your question?
and why maybe it wasn't as instantly recognizable, or people weren't as hungry for what Dropsy was a few years ago as maybe
I think
they
I
are
didn't
now.
communicate it like good and well enough. Like it was all just prototypes, so it was like fake gameplay that I was showing, just to show my art, because a lot of the money was to hire a programmer.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't show enough. And I think at that time I was still trying to figure out what kind of meaningful thing I was trying to do with the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew there would be the hugging, but
But if I have it right, you were both quit fired and the Kickstarter didn't take off?
yeah, that was a bad time. Yeah, because
that's really hard.
yeah, it was hard. Like, if you can't tell by the Ninja Turtles box I have over here, I live with my dad still.
Oh yeah?
I'm
Like how Dropsy lives with his dad?
It's
He lives in a
depressing.
tent.
Yeah, it's depressing how many parallels you could make with it. Stupid me and that clown. Maybe I didn't do that on accident, but I definitely didn't do it on purpose. It was subconscious.
Sure. Well, we make what we know, or we make what we see and think we know. Anyway.
But I'm not mooching on him per se, because he's like a poor guy, so he couldn't even, other than living here, like but I pulled my weight. I did like pixel art commissions for a while, and then a couple months later, that second Kickstarter, after I worked on the game longer, it did well. And what's funny is our original goal, if you noticed, was $25,000, and then we made half of that. And then so I set the next goal to lower, and I would have just axed off getting a soundtrack by Chris Schlarb as, you know, that the rest of that money, so I could still make the game without the soundtrack. But I set the goal to $14,000, and then we ended up making the original $25,000 goal in the second Kickstarter. So it's almost like we got everything that we wanted from the first one.
Yeah, isn't it? Did you have any guess that the second Kickstarter would have done better? And if it hadn't have succeeded, would you have probably given up on Dropsy at that point, or do you think you would have tried to find another way?
Nah, like I would have worked on it for 10 years just because I really wanted to make it into a game. Like, it was just, that was my thing that was going to happen. You know, I didn't care, but I was being very indignant and a little irresponsible at that time, you know, with the job thing. But my dad was so cool about it. And like, my dad is a very, very conservative, very, you know, very involved in his church, like working guy, you know, guy. But, and for someone like him to see the value in like this game, it's just like, I really appreciate the guy. And
yeah,
it took my mom a while to come around, because even after Devolver, after that second Kickstarter, Devolver published us, and it's been easier now after that to live a little bit. But my mom, up until a couple months ago, man, just like and it looked pretty good a few months ago. I was showing her the game, and she's like, she'd always get this sad, like, son, like, do you have a backup? Like, there's a community college right down the road from me, and you can get a nursing, you can help, you can do something like that, please, like, while you work on it. And it was like, please. But I think recently she's like, I've also fooled her, so we're good on the parents.
you fooled her?
I mean, no, I was just kidding, you know. Yeah.
I'm hoping she sees it, but I think
she likes it now. I think she's okay now.
Yeah,
we're good.
Yeah. I would imagine. I mean, the stuff I work on. My mom. I only have one surviving parent, and she doesn't understand any of it. Like,
I think it was the pixel. Like, she was like, "Can't you do the new graphics?" Like, and stuff like that, you know. So, and thankfully, it has a resurgence now, so it's marketable again to do a pixely game. Hopefully, for a little while longer, it will be. That's my only marketable skill set. So,
and you've been doing pixel art for a long time, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, like, okay, so in 1997, we got our first computer, but I think my parents either couldn't afford or they were too scared to get internet for a long time, until maybe 2002 or so. And so all I had was MS Paint, Total Annihilation, and like a Grim Fandango demo, and then my console games. But that's all I had on the computer, was like those things, and Sim Tower or something. But so MS Paint, like I was like, you know what? I'll just start. I got really good at MS Paint, and up until 2013, I was just using MS Paint because I was so comfortable with it. You know, so most of the Dropsy's bedroom, for example, was MS Paint stuff.
Wow, that is surprising. So you got the internet in 2002. Other tools became apparent to you. You knew other people were using other tools. You're probably on pixel art forums and websites.
Yeah, and I got into the immediately when I got the internet, like because actually 2001 is when I got the internet actually, but immediately I got into those communities and made a lot of. It was so weird, like I got jealous too because I remember being in IRC in the Click and Play channel, and Derek Yu would be in there, and like all these other now famous guys or successful guys, and then like a couple years ago, I'm like, man, I should have kept doing that because I stopped a little while. You know, I was just like, whatever, I'll just do telemarketing. But then the whole game thing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I might be able to do it.
And coding too. When did you? Because you do the music, you do graphics, and you code as well. Did you do all of those things at once, or did they kind of stack or?
Well,
tower?
you know, Multimedia Fusion was a little bit of a game maker-esque program. So if you want to call it coding, you could. It's certainly challenging because you got to beat the program into doing what you want it to do. But I don't know if it's programming per se. I can do a little web coding, but mostly just art and music are my things, and I guess like design. Just I'm an ideas man too.
Well, yeah. I think I think before I had any skills at anything, which wasn't that long ago, and some would say that's still true now, that I don't actually have any skills yet. But regardless, I would say I just want to be an idea man. I want to be Aaron Spelling and just sit in a chair and be like, how about there's 3 sexy ladies and they're spies? Where's my $1 million? You know, Charlie's Angels. That's all me. But much more than idea guy, you actually have put forward and delivered. You've created your ideas. You've gone through all the work and stress and toil and needing to practice in order to get there. Was it music you started with, and then graphics, and then the coding was just to get your ideas out there?
So most of the games, like little games, and this is how I'm going to do in the future, because music is so much more fun to me to do than like pixel art. I love pixel art and I'm best at it, I guess, as far as my skills, but it's probably because I don't let myself, I have to make everything super detailed. Like there has to be, I can't have a plain green area. There has to be like blades of grass going different ways. And I do not copy and paste grass into other areas. I have to do all of it. So like maybe there's a thing that you call this, whatever, but like I like music more because I'm way less anal about it and I can just chill, and it's my relaxing fun thing I like to do. So for my little games, I start with the music and then the graphics and everything get made to it. But I think I started probably with the art back when I got my first computer, and then I started the music stuff after I gave up on games at maybe 20 or 19 or 20. And now I'm 28. And then I started getting in all the nerdy genres like prog rock and stuff that you don't play around your girlfriend or whatever. Like my girlfriend likes prog rock though. I've been able to get her to like it. But my mom, I should say your mom probably. Not your girlfriend.
Yeah, probably, because there's all kinds of girlfriends, but so many moms are at least over 30 these days.
You know, at one point I would have said prog rock is like the worst genre and no girls like it, but I know so many girls that like prog rock nowadays.
My wife demanded that we go to a Primus concert the other day.
Okay, well, there you go.
And I was like, I guess we're going to the Primus concert. And it was a pretty darn good concert.
So, but I think that has the same problem video games do. This is such a rabbit trail. But it was always like knights and like sci-fi nerd, like, and it was all about power, like, you know, like power, like the knight slashing the freaking dragon. And it was like, and it was all about wanking on the thing for 20 minutes. And then like I don't blame any girls for thinking that's the dumbest crap ever and not wanting to listen to it. But so I think maybe games are moving into like in a similar way. That's why we see more representation and stuff, I guess, now.
Very well could be. I know women who absolutely love Rush and like follow them everywhere.
Dude, my
And
sister is like the nerdiest prog rock fan ever. So like, yeah.
it now that women are coming out and saying, yeah, I like this and I'm not ashamed of it. Other women are saying, oh, it's okay to like that and are getting into it. I hate to oversimplify it, but
Right.
I think so many things are based on like, am I going to be shunned if I say I like X, Y, or Z?
Right.
And for so long, if women said they liked X, Y, or Z, they felt like they were going to.
I mean, it's like journalism with like music. Like, you don't call something prog rock if you want it to get like a good review, because that's just embarrassing to give a prog album a good review. But anyway, when I got into that prog stuff, then I started like my tendrils went out and I started finding all of this really like, you know, free jazz and just stuff you wouldn't want to show anyone because they would be like, turn this crap off. You know, this is just crazy noise. And then like I got deep into that stuff for a long time. And I'm glad I had that because then I learned another like thing that I can add to my games, you know, and it's
Sure. And how did you then loop back into games? So you kind of quit attempting game development, it sounds like, at 20, and then full circle, giving it another shot. What inspired you to do that?
It was the Dropsy stuff because, like, just for fun, I had that character from my old game from 2004 or whatever, and I was like, you know what? I'll make this thread and do a little game, choose your own adventure game, and they can. And then everyone's like, this makes me think of LucasArts games. You should make a game. And then I kicked that around. And then in 2011, I was like, all right, I'll do it.
Huh.
So from that point, I only really big time started like at the end of 2012 making the game though. And then I still didn't think it was going to be anything until like that second Kickstarter. I just thought, okay, maybe I can get some attention a little bit. And I saw Wadget Eye Games, you know, Dave Gilbert.
Oh, sure.
Blackwell series and all that get a little traction. And I was like, well, yeah, I could maybe do something with this. And there's like, I made this graph on Twitter of like my, how much I thought that this game would actually like be seen by anyone or be a good game. And it's definitely a roller coaster. So
it's funny because easy for me to say from the outside looking in. I think we've interacted on Twitter in some form or another for, I think, years. I think around.
Yeah, I think like since the Kickstarter, probably a little near there. Yeah.
Yeah. I've always just been like, well, obviously Dropsy is great, and obviously it like took skill and took imagination. Filtered through technique. It's not just like raw imagination. It's like this guy knows how to do these things. This is going to turn out really good. To think that you ever thought like, maybe I don't actually know how to do this. It's such a distance between how you and I have seen Dropsy all these years.
Well, that's because I tricked you into giving me money for my Kickstarter. It's marketing. No, like I think like I really like game design. I was studying a lot of game design starting in 2011 with that first Kickstarter. Like I was listening to all the podcasts or reading books, everything I could do. But up until maybe end of 2012, I would have sucked at making an adventure game. Like I think even like, and the new team even has helped me change a few things that I had design wise. And it's just all the better for it. And I guess you always are going to learn. So you always think your past self was sucked, but I don't know.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So with music, you have adopted a feeling of not being hindered by self-criticism, whereas with art, you look and you know you need things to be more technically detailed and whatnot. With game design, where do you think you fit? Are you more, have you combined those two attitudes, or are you towards more the one than the other?
I don't know. Like game design, I don't even still know if I know what the heck. It's such an abstract, arbitrary thing, you know? It's weird. I don't know. I'm probably closer to the self-critical side, but I guess if people like my game, which they seem to be liking it in beta, then I guess I did a good job. So I would say somewhere in the middle, maybe. I'm just making up an answer for you. I don't know.
Well, I think you touched upon something not a lot of people maybe have thought about. That game design, in terms of self-reflecting on how good your design is, especially with a puzzle game, like, how do you know? With music, you can hear, like, well, did I hit a sour note? And if you have a decent pitch and you can hear it, then okay. And with graphics, you can be like, oh, that looks sloppy or whatever.
Right.
But with game design, you're so deeply in it, you don't know if you designed it well until somebody else plays it. And then on top of that...
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. You.
I guess with music, it can be like that, though, because, like, I've made... Hold on. Gum transfer onto the paper. Okay. With music, stop. Okay, with music, like, I'll make a song and then come back a week later and put on my headphones and I'll be like, "What were you doing? This sounds like garbage." So I guess that could apply. But with games, yeah, I don't know. It's so weird. Like with my game in particular, or adventure games, maybe, especially with no text, where you can't tell someone go to the big bridge or something. Like, you just have to convey with symbols or visuals that they need to go to a big bridge or something, you know? So there's a lot more obstacles, because the benefit of that will be universal game. Like, there's no one has to translate into French, go to the big bridge. And if the word big is a colloquialism that the French don't have, then you got to figure that out. So I feel like it cuts away a lot of barriers to not having the language. But in terms of game design and like designing puzzles, like, maybe people in some country think a fishing pole is always made out of wood and not metal or something. So they're going to think it's like a sword, or like, I don't know. Like, it's all these weird things that you gotta, and I see people, like, someone was like, oh, I picked up the first aid kit, and I'm like, we don't even have a first aid kit in the whole game. So they thought something else was a first aid kit, and it was just because our visual communication. So trying to predict what people will do with only visual and auditory, like, stuff is so weird. Especially in an adventure game where it's all context. There's no, like, match the blue cube with the blue cube. You know, it's all like just, oh, I have to put the food on the grill because you cook that. You know, it's all human concepts, and it's so weird to get right. But I think we're doing it a little bit okay right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But like you're saying, when you're figuring out if your design works, you're faced with the fact that you don't know what you don't know about how someone else is going to interpret this world. Though the fact that you've given people such an interesting world to be in, I think that's hopefully where you may be saved by any failures to predict how people are going to interpret it. Right. Because they just love to be in that world with those people doing those things. Like, I think that's where it may not matter in the end if people fully understand a puzzle right away. And what's interesting is that's kind of the, I wonder if that's what drew you to that genre in any way, because we had Ron Gilbert on the show not that long ago, as well as David Fox, who did Zach McCracken, which Dropsy kind of reminds me of, because they're both games about, like, seeing that other people are people, and learning that there's a bigger world than the one you know, and empathizing with others, real undercurrent of empathy to that game. But they were like, puzzle games, sometimes our puzzles were junk and we didn't know it. But people liked it anyway because they liked the world and they liked the characters and they liked the comedy. So the puzzles were really just there to give them an excuse to be in the world.
I know, yeah. I think most adventure games have excuses made for their puzzles. Like Grim Fandango, for example, I will still say it's one of my favorite games ever, though re-looking at it, because I watched a Let's Play over here while I was working, because I don't have time to play games right now. But re-looking at it, I'm like, man, how did I figure that out when I was 11 or however old I was? And, like, I'm just like, you're right. It's just so weird. And so in Dropsy, I hope a lot of our puzzles, if you might have noticed, have only 1, 2 things that you do to solve them. They're pretty simple. Like there's a girl. Well, I won't spoil any puzzles, but it's just like if you see someone crying because of some reason, and you look at the thing in front of them and why they may be crying, then you go get that thing from another part of the world, and then you can go help them. Like and those are mostly optional puzzles, but there's no chains of things. Like make your shirt soggy so you can weigh down the thing, and then do something with that combination of things. Like those things drive me nuts. Like fill the bucket with mud, and then I forgot what it was in Monkey Island, but that stumped me for a long time. So we have 0 combining of items. So because the game has an open world basically, and there's going to be lots of people to talk to, we didn't want to make these freaking huge multi-step puzzles all over the place. So most puzzles are very simple, but when you add the total sum of them, the big changes happen in the world. So, but there is a main storyline with some more involved puzzles, a few action things with like stealthy things, But beyond those, it's mostly just those very tiny, brief, simple puzzles.
And giving you an excuse to see what ideas you and the team came up with. Like that's how I feel about the puzzles that I've played in Dropsy so far. It's not so much like a way to prove to myself that I'm super smart or that I got lucky and randomly figured things out. It's like there's a little girl crying. What did he come up with for me to use to make her happy again? And then when I find out what you came up with, I feel more of an understanding of what ideas you're expressing.
And then you can hug her because you made her happy. That's kind of the template for all the optional puzzles. But even at the end of the game, the optional puzzles they don't change the story, but they do have a sort of a sweet impact on things without saying anything,
Yeah. That focus on minutia and like embracing and valuing little things that other people may take for granted in their actual life, and certainly things people take for granted in big saving the world games where you don't focus on each individual person. But this is really a game where the NPCs and your relationships with them is the point. Were there any games you played growing up or maybe older when you were older that you saw, wow, focusing on minutia can really make a rewarding experience?
I don't know if it's applicable, but Earthbound, I like the attention to, this may have been a localization thing, but the attention to the different characters, like some areas, every character had a different sprite. There wasn't just generic man, like in Threed, I believe. I remember reading an interview, and I remember from playing it even, each character had a different sprite, and they also thought about where they lived and what they were doing, and like they all had their own little, there wasn't a lot of complex stuff that happened to them, but you could hear when they were talking to you kind of where they were coming from. And I love the weirdly just chirpy vibe when people would talk to you, even if they were being a jerk, they were still like saying something oddly upbeat. And I like that they did that. Maybe it was like the world seen through the eyes of a kid. Maybe because everything is a yo-yo or a baseball bat or a hamburger or kid stuff that's on the kid's eye level, in that game. But but I feel like there's a lot of those details. Maybe that is what they were doing on purpose. I don't know. But that game comes to mind, but not really other than just that example. I can't think of much. I would remember as a kid, and a beta backer who tested said the same thing about our game, but they would play adventure games. I would play adventure games, and I would go to my friend Chris's house, and he would have all the adventure games, and I would just watch him. But it was like cooperative playing because we would tell each other, wait, go here, go there, whatever. And I would always think when I went home, I'd daydream and think about what if they tried to go into that shack and think that there was way more beyond the world than what the developer actually put in there. And so one of our beta testers said that's what they liked about our game is that when they stopped playing, they thought, there's probably a heck of a lot of stuff in this game or in the world of it that I have not dug up yet. And so I like those details because it gives this sort of weird childlike, and like you think things might be infinite in some direction and you're just not finding them. I like that it makes you want to go back and revisit it, that kind of thing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's this is an adventure game made by someone who grew up with adventure games and imagined what they could be.
Yeah.
And you're doing your best to make good on that, what you wished they were back then, even visually. Like when I remember how old Commodore 64 adventure games looked, I remember them being like detailed and fluid animation, and I actually see them and I'm like, oh wow, no.
Yeah,
like if that came out today, that might be tough to look at. But I remember it the way Dropsy actually looks. So it's kind of like you've aged them forward.
I hope that is like everyone who makes adventure games says this crap about like, man, my game's going to be the one that makes people who don't play adventure games want to play them. And I don't really think that about my game, but I hope that it does.
Sure.
Like, it still has adventure game puzzles. You're never going to please people who hate those, but they're very simple. So if you're a baby like me and you want simple puzzles, then play my game.
And I hope that the large and apparently growing Earthbound community plays it, because like you were saying, and I kind of tricked you into talking about Earthbound.
You did that on purpose.
I kind of did, yeah. I knew you were going to.
You knew I love that game.
I had a feeling, and for the same reasons that you described, the fact that it filters the world through a childlike energy, and all the adults talk a little bit more like excited children than
right.
And the creator of the game, I don't know him personally, but people I know who know him say he's like perpetually childlike and
cool.
Innocent and imaginative and excited about the world and whatnot. But all the same, the focus on caring about little things that other people wouldn't have necessarily noticed. He made Earthbound, as far as I know, in part an answer to Dragon Quest, which was like huge in Japan and all about these big grand fantasy themes. He was like, what if we just cared about like who lives down the street?
Right, yeah.
As well, and thought they were as important as fighting a dragon or ogres or monsters.
Yeah.
If we saw and that's why in that game you end up just sitting in a hot tub and drinking a cup of coffee and like thinking
right.
whether you want to or not.
Cool. It's so cool.
It is pretty cool, and it is much better than the first one, which I recently played because it finally came out on the Wii U. You can tell that Earthbound is what he wanted that game to be all along, just as Dropsy is what a lot of point and click people wish their games could have been back in the 80s. At least that's my take on it. Speaking of consoles, any chance for Dropsy on consoles? Has it already been announced?
That would be cool. No announcement, but I mean, with now that every console has some interface for cursors, sorta, it's feasible. Vita would be cool. And of course, Devolver is always up with Sony doing stuff with them. So maybe, I haven't talked to them yet. I imagine we're going to see how it does. And then maybe we could do that. I don't know. But sure. I would not be against any of that. So
yeah, I think
it would be cool for Wii too, to get on.
Yeah, the Wii U pad would work pretty well. The 3DS would work. Vita would work. I don't know, PS4. I don't know, how good is that touchpad on there?
I've never touched it. My newest console is a GameCube, so I go to people's houses, but I haven't played anything.
Oh man, yeah. I'm really wanting to send you an import Japanese game for the GameCube, but I don't think it would work on your American GameCube, called Giftpedia. At least that's how I
already have 3 things on my notepad from you now. I have to look up. What is it? How do you spell this?
It's Japanese. You're never gonna get it.
All right.
It's made by the Chibi Robo guys.
Okay.
If you haven't played the first Chibi Robo yet, then you gotta do it.
Okay.
That's like the only thing you really have to do. Like Dropsy can come out in 2016, 2017.
Okay.
Whatever.
I'll post it.
Chibi Robo, you're a robot about this big, and you're a toy bought by a family. by a really nerdy dad with a bushy mustache, and nobody speaks in English because they probably can avoid voice actors. So he's like, like telling his family how awesome this toy is he bought, and they don't care at all. And then you find out that his wife's going to divorce him because he's like a hopeless nerd who can't keep a job.
Oh man!
And your whole job is to make them happy. That's all you do. Is like, how can you make the family happy so they don't split up?
Oh
and you do it by like little chores and stuff. I could go on about you.
That is so cool.
It's so made for you. Like there are these games that you are carrying on a tradition.
Maybe I'm Japanese.
Maybe. Well, it's a similar pushback. Like Tulip, Chibi Robo, they were both made at a time when like Grand Theft Auto was getting bigger and Metal Gear Solid and Resident Evil. Like games had gone from being like cute mascot Sonic the Hedgehog, Mario, to like this gritty, realistic Hollywood time. And they were pushing back by like, no, why don't we use our new technology to like make people happy and kiss them and make their marriages not. And you are, I don't know if it was intentional, but we talked a little bit before about how you're subverting. Maybe you're also pushing back against how violent and how power fantasy focused games are largely today.
Probably because, like I said, like I'm always trying to figure out like how to make something meaningful that I'm doing. Like I don't want to feel like I spent 4 years and it's especially as it relates to my faith and all that. Like how can I just, I don't know, help people? Like I feel like what are you doing if you're not doing that? Like I don't know, but and not to say shooting games can't. Like I've seen people have a blast around a couch playing, like shooting each other, whatever,
Sure.
But yeah, that's definitely probably in my thought. Though as much of I think it's more a proactive like trying to help than it is pushing back against, because I've never been too critical of those things other than just thinking they get boring maybe. Personally,
so not so much pushback but supplement with those games, power fantasy games, violence, conflict focused games. They're already there.
Yeah,
make another one,
something else for people to play. I don't know, but like while I don't like violent games, which is funny because my publisher like while I don't particularly like, I'm not like yeah, maybe like when I was 12 that was so awesome, shooting everyone, I was Duke Nukem, but like I don't know, maybe I just grew out of it.
Well, I think that we get I can speak for myself, and I'm 10 years older than you. Can you believe that? So old. I'm almost 40.
Okay. Well, you have a nice complexion.
Oh, that's kind of you to say. Likewise. The concepts, there's only so many times you can go about the same themes and concepts in a game. I think Metal Gear has been pretty impressive in that they've kept the same general idea and played with it in so many ways that it stayed fresh, relatively fresh, at least for me, even though I'm sort of disenchanted with the series at this point. But you just get older and you want to play something like you've never played before, and you want to make something like it's never been made before. So I'd imagine that's where it would come from. But we can't go too far away without talking about Atomic Santa.
Oh,
which,
yeah.
is action-packed. I mean, you're no
violence.
Action.
Yeah. All right, I can say the premise. Everyone go to atomicsanta.com because I'm more proud of the website than I am the game. But
how come? That's a good game.
There's a lot of bugs that get you stuck forever in it because of multimedia fusion. But it was a fun 3-week project. Did you beat it?
I didn't manage to beat the last boss. I'm pretty sure
I got to the last boss. Okay, yeah.
I think so. And some of the bugs were really fun. Like I found a bug that made me teleport back and turn into two Santas. And I thought it was a power. I thought it was
my God. I love that. I left that in. Like I fixed it and then I was like, and then it caused a different bug fixing it. But then I was like, you know what? You can beat the game with two Santas. I'll just leave the two Santas back in there. So I put another update with the two Santa bug back in the game.
Oh, I'll have to grab that update.
Well, no, you probably have it. Because if you played with two Santas
I don't think I updated the first time. I didn't even know there was a.
Okay,
a single
then
update.
there's a one you can re-download. It has a little polish, but I wouldn't bother with it until Christmas. But basically, that game is a little not as nice as my usual. Because as I mentioned, I'm a person of faith.
Yes.
So I'm friends with lots of people who post things on Facebook. And I don't always agree theologically with them, but they're part of my community and I love them and stuff. So,
Sure.
But they post just the worst conspiracy, like Illuminati stuff about Christmas war, the war on Christmas, like they're trying to take Christ out of Christmas. And I really think that as people who believe what we're supposed to believe, the principles, we should not correct people who try to tell us happy holidays and say, actually, it's Merry Christmas. Here's the love of Jesus or something like that. You know, like who wants to hear that crap? That's not even in the spirit of the season at all. So I was that game was my whine game, complain game about people whining about Obama or whoever taking Christ out of Christmas. And it's this over the top story about like Obama and the Illuminati robed men who Santa decided to be on the side of Christ because, you know, he's the jolly old saint, you know, or whatever. So it's a war and he didn't want to do what Obama and the Illuminati wanted to do, which was destroy all the nativity scenes in the whole world or whatever. So Obama nuked the North Pole, but Santa survived and his elves rebuilt him. And he has like atomic powers, and Rudolph has like a cyborg face and can shoot nose lasers and stuff. And so it's like, and he has to go to the Illuminati headquarters and like save Christmas.
Yeah.
And then since no one's ever gonna beat it, at the end you see Santa's like victoriously flying by, and then the screen pans down, and then there's these homeless people sharing bread. And there's like some Christ metaphor in there a little bit, but yes. And so, but it pans down to this very kind of depressing scene to contrast with how Santa thought he was saving Christmas by murdering everyone. And then there's just homeless people having a nice Christmas together. And then the game auto quits.
I'm mad at myself for not beating it. I think
It's so unfair.
I wouldn't go that far. I got pretty close.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I personally think, you know, you could throw that on consoles for $2 or whatever and end up.
I want to do a sequel because I like the idea of Santa kicking butt and the shoot 'em up parts. That was fun.
Well, yeah, the whole game was fun, and the concept, it joyfully engages you in conflict while kind of making fun of the fact that you're enjoying conflict so much, which is a great way to do parody, to embrace what you're making fun of, but also, you know, taking joy in what parts of what you're making fun of and how they are a good time on their own.
Yeah, and I think, man, I get so stir crazy with Dropsy because like it's an adventure game. This is the least dynamic genre ever. Like you program when you click on this happens, and it's gonna happen the exact same every time you click on it. Mm-hmm. So there's no systems. Like we've added a few things in Dropsy, a few systems to make it a little fun, but you still can't do an accident and shoot this way on accident and cause something to blow up, and then it's crazy. I didn't expect this. But so I make these little games in between because they have actual systems or actual fail states, and they're just fun for me to play while I'm making them. Whereas Dropsy, designing it is fun and adding new content is fun, but actually playing it, I can't do it for pleasure because I know all of the things that happen, you know?
Sure. It's just like putting together a puzzle on top of the puzzle that's already done. I mean, you've already seen it before you've done it.
Yeah, it's like drawing a huge masterpiece picture and then chopping it up and then being like, all right, let's put the puzzle together.
You know how it's going to look. Yeah, you're not getting to draw anymore. And Atomic Santa isn't the only game you've made since Dropsy. What's the name of the other one again? It's got Yeah, there's
Hypnospace
two.
Enforcer.
Isn't
Yeah.
there a robot one too?
Oh, Punch Robot. That was a game jam.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I want to make a full game out of that too. But it's just the right and left mouse button and you punch a robot or slap and punch it. He's like buried halfway in the sand and he tells you like you kind of de-glitch him as you're punching him. And so he tells you how he got abandoned in a desert planet and stuff. And depending on if you slap or punch him, he'll tell like a different story. It's like a song. I don't know. It was an excuse to use a vocoder because I really wanted to have a robot voice song. So
How long did that take to make?
it was just I went to Indie Galactic Space Jam last year, which is fun. Anyone near Orlando should do this. They get together with NASA and like space professionals, and the professionals join every team, and then you just make a game together in 72 hours or whatever. And most of the games are a little funny. You don't need to be good. Like the NASA guys are just having fun too. So, but some guys were very serious with their simulations and they were getting all this physics data. And I saw like spreadsheets from the NASA dudes and stuff. It's a pretty cool game jam, but I made it during that because I was doing audio for people. Because like I said, I have a lot of fun doing music and I just wanted to stay audio. But then I was like, man, I want to make a game. So the last day in like 6 hours, I just slapped that thing together and it doesn't have to do with space. It's on a planet, but whatever.
Well, it's on a planet that you need to go into space to get to if you're on
Yes.
Earth, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Thanks.
it works for me.
Yeah, okay, good.
Anytime. And the other game, if I remember correctly,
Hypnospace.
psychedelic pink and blue.
Yeah, Hypnospace Enforcer. That one is like I already started a sequel to it. But everyone in the world, it's like this future, maybe dystopian society, and everyone in the world, when their awake lives are horrible and working, and then when they go to sleep, they put these headbands on to enter hypnospace, which is like the internet. It's just, I forgot the word, analogous, whatever that is.
Analogous. Yeah.
To the internet, and you go around and you're like the cop in hypnospace, and if someone breaks the rules, you got to pull them. And for some reason, there's only cars in the internet in the future, so whatever. But if people break the law, like they stalk chicks in hypnospace, then you have to pull them over and like kind of boot them out is basically what the thing is. But the game is kind of picking on dogpiling people on the internet a little bit. It's touching on that, like, because like when a lot of message boards perceive that someone has done something very wrong, they freaking go nuts and like go crazy and attack them. And I'm not talking about any specific, like it happened to me on a forum that I used to. Yeah, like
what happened to you?
It happened to me a little bit. I'll tell you the story later. It's weird, but it was real depressing because all these people that didn't even know me were just being mean to me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do anything. They just and I didn't do anything mean. I was sticking up for someone who they were dogpiling, and then I got lumped in with the person or whatever.
Sure.
So that game was a little bit of like a commentary on that because I'm like, man, why do you gotta just be mean to anybody? Golly, like, and then so the game was a little bit like you were this cop and you had to get these scumbags on the internet, and like the scumbags were like this little old lady who accidentally got spyware and she was spreading it around hypnospace. And the game was like, yeah, scumbag apprehended and stuff when you finally pulled her over. But that level was kind of fun because I made like pop-ups come up on your screen because, she had spyware. So you kind of contracted it and you had to like close the spyware and stuff while you were trying to like play this game and try to apprehend a criminal. Anyway, I go on too much. Sorry.
No, not at all. It would work. I mean, they're all thematically connected, from what I can tell.
A little bit.
Dropsy, yeah, maybe not. I'll spit it out real quick. We've got a minute. I'll do it in hopefully 20 seconds. Dropsy is about the rejection of using conflict as a default means of getting problem solved, and is doing everything but conflict. Whereas the other two games are about conflict and kind of making fun of conflict while also having fun with it. In that way, I see them related. Your body of work so far, people could find some connection.
You're right. I guess it's just because people make it's just a part of me, so it comes out in what I'm making, you know?
Absolutely. And I love that people's idea of a modern Christian, what they believe in, how they present themselves, not dropsy, like not the first thing that comes to mind. Like,
and it should be.
and maybe it will be.
Yeah,
in the end, because the beauty of spirituality for me is so often about just going beyond your base instincts and actually connecting with people on a way that's emotionally real.
Yeah, you recognize that someone has something in there that transcends what you can see with your own judgments and your own ability to we value we try to decide what people are worth so much when we look at them, like, you know, just passing people by and, oh, I bet that guy's like that, you know. So it's definitely, you know, I guess dropsy, if there is a metaphor, it's dropsy is kind of what a Christian should be like, or like in my life, but really what a person who cares about people should be like. And his appearance is, I guess, on purpose, you know, to work against that, you know, when you start playing. But yeah, I think that's probably, if you get to the lowest level, that's probably what that comes from. Though I'm definitely not trying to make some C.S. Lewis Narnia dropsy is Jesus thing at the end of it or something.
Yeah, I don't. It would be funny, of course, if someone accused you of like dropsy being Christian propaganda or something, because it sure doesn't look like it. But in a way, propaganda is not the right term for it, but it is conveying a message of like being good to people is a good thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess if you don't like that message, then I'm sorry, but like that's funny because a lot of my Christian friends too, or people are like, they kind of are like, oh, that's cool, Jay, that clown game you're making, huh? And they just can't, like, I haven't tried to explain it to them either. Maybe I'll get around to it, but I just feel like then I would have to go into why video games are not horrible, time-wasting, evil things. Then I'll have to go into all this other stuff. I'll just let them think I'm a weird guy. That's fine.
Yeah, you're not like dropsy. You are not in it to change how people see you. You're in it to just actually try to communicate something positive and make people feel good. Yeah, that's how you seem to me anyway. Though for someone who, anytime, it's very true. Though for someone whom isn't like all about themselves and letting people know how great of a guy they are, you're really good at talking and conveying what you're all about on this show. Great job on the show.
Well, thank you. You're a great question guy. And I'm sure you're good at lots of other things.
I have no idea. I have.
Do you make games?
No. Well, funny you should ask. I told a couple of guys that I had an idea for a puzzle game, and I think they're making it now. So that's neat. Yeah.
Do you have any input? It's just like you let this idea out there, and now these guys are making it?
Kind of. I emailed them. I was like, hey, you've got some graphics, and hey, you know how to make things. Here's an idea for a puzzle game. And they're like, we'll make it. I'm like, okay, I bet it'll be good. I can't make any of it, though. I'm sorry. Like, don't think I'm lazy if I don't actually, like, do anything now, because I can't.
I think a lot of game developers have this thing that they do that I've started to do where they assume everyone in the whole world would love to make games. And like that would be their goal or something if they could do anything. And it's not very true because I'll meet like young high school kids and they're like, oh, you make games? Oh, that's cool. And then I immediately think, oh, I can tell them how to make games too. And then I start listing off the good software that you could get into and they're like, what are you talking about? Like, I just thought it was cool that you make games.
Well, sure. If they could go like this and if they could just be idea men.
Yeah.
they would do it, but the actual making of it, it's not. It's really something that you've been able to do it, Jay. Congrats. My pleasure. They can find you on Twitter, 2 different places. You've got your own Twitter account.
Dropsy the Clown. The other one I'm too lazy to log into nowadays, so it's just at Dropsy the Clown, really.
And Devolver's Publishing. You can check out more about Dropsy on Devolver's site. And
or dropsytheclown.com.
Dropsytheclown.com. And you have your other games on itch.io, if I remember.
Yeah, you can search Jay Tholen on there or atomicsanta.com, which is a great website.
Yeah, it's very
well done. Unmute your speakers if you visit it.
The music is very well done.
Thanks.
As for me, I'm at Tronauts on Twitter. You can watch the show later on youtube.com/SubHomeShow. You can listen to it on Libsyn or iTunes in podcast form, which is the preferred form from what I'm told. And I think that's everything. There's more I wanted to talk to you about. I think about specifically, Christianity, because this is an exciting topic and we don't talk about it as much as I would have liked. Only I think one other developer identified, said, well, I'm a Christian. It was Ryan.
That Dragon Cancer.
We haven't had him on the show yet. I wonder if he'd like to be on. The creator of Citizens of Earth, another huge Earthbound fan. Well, I wonder if there's a connection there. Interesting. Ryan. Yeah, neat guy. He made Citizens of Earth. Yeah. So, maybe next time. Christianity next time?
We'll see. After the game comes out, so a bunch of people don't buy it. We can't let that get out there too much. After I'm rich. Okay.
Right, after you're rich.
Okay, cool.
Great.
Okay, cool.
Jay.
That's very Christian. All right, see you.